Welcome back to the channel, guys, and my second attempt at what I like to call Mega March. So March happens to be my birthday month, and last year I got the idea in my head to dedicate the whole month to a series of games I really love, aka the Mega Man series. With its massive library of games spread across tons of spin-offs, it's easy to dedicate an entire month to the series without feeling too repetitive. Unfortunately, I only got one video out last year for Mega March. The one covering the original Mega Man X and its remake of Maverick Hunter X. Go watch that video, by the way. I was actually in a good flow and was well on track for the second video that month, but real life stuff combined with some burnout killed the idea before it took off. Thankfully, this year I'm in much better spirits, have more time on my hands, and feel like I've gotten a much better handle on my workflow for videos. For the most part. So I've decided to give Mega March another chance, and to kick off the second year of what I hope will be an annual thing. Today I'm covering the first two sequels to Mega Man X, X2 and X3. Before we dive in, be sure to leave a like down below, and subscribe if you're new to my channel. Now let's get to it. Mega Man X2 takes place a few months after the ending of the first game, with X still mourning the loss of his good buddy Zero. He's now partnered up with rookie Maverick Hunter, Green Biker Dude, a brash and gung-ho Maverick Hunter who doesn't play by the rules. Okay buddy, watch your driving. Don't show off, we're in the middle of an open battlefield. No, Green Biker Dude, he had a family, goddammit! Looks like it's revenge time. After slaughtering our way through the Maverick production facility, we learn that a new group of baddies are behind the current Maverick attacks. The trio known as the X-Hunters. Why do they call themselves that? Because they're hunting Mega Man X. Duh. The group is made up of Agile, the fast one, Violin, the slow and violent one, and Surges, the old looking one, who is totally not Dr. Wily. Who told you that garbage? Get out of here with your crazy fan theories. The trio are leading another band of 8 Mavericks to stop X, though they have ulterior motives than just stopping the Blue Bomber. Somehow they've managed to get their hands on Zero's remains, hoping to stall out X long enough so they can rebuild him, planning to reprogram the Red Reploid and turn him against his buddy. So it's now a race to stop the new Mavericks, topple the X-Hunters, and retrieve Zero's body parts. X2 doesn't really do much different compared to the first game if I'm being honest. It's the same buster shooting, wall climbing, ability stealing of the first game. You can still collect heart upgrades, energy tanks, and armor parts. But there isn't really much new introduced gameplay wise. Though this would be the first time X would use the Ride Chaser, and the entire level isn't built around it, thankfully, like it is in some future games. X's standard moveset gets a small update, with the dash being included by default, the armor foot parts now allowing him to dash in the air. The new armor introduced here does feel a little more versatile and useful. The head parts now let you scan for hidden passages or items. The body parts let you use the Giga Crush attack, which charges up the more damage X takes before unleashing a huge blast of energy on the screen. And the arm parts give you more charged buster shots to use, along with charging your special weapons like before. The X-Hunters have more of an active role in gameplay and the story compared to Vile and Sigma in the first game, as after defeating 2 Mavericks, they'll start to randomly spawn in the stages. They're hidden and out of the way in most stages, so it's easy to end up bypassing them. But if you do run into them, you're in for a serious fight. Each one fights a lot more erratically and does a lot more damage than the average boss, and even having the right weapon to use against them won't help much. Hell, the bosses in this game are a serious step up in difficulty compared to the first game. They tend to be a bit more tanky, most won't get stun locked if you use their weaknesses on them, and in fact, all of them either counterattack or play keep away after being damaged. So you can't really steamroll them like you could the original Maverick bosses. And after taking a certain amount of damage, some will get more aggressive or use new attacks. One fight in particular, Morph Moth, changes the fight completely, as after halfway through, the boss will shed his shell and start flying around to attack you instead. So while the core mechanics have barely changed, the changes to the bosses do make up for it. Returning to the topic of the X-Hunters, while they're technically optional fights, at least at first, you can avoid them by entering or leaving a completed stage to have them spawn somewhere else. However, whether you beat the X-Hunters or not does end up changing the ending of the game. As I brought up before, they're in possession of Zero's body parts. When you defeat one, they'll drop the Zero part they're in possession of. Why they carry those around with them when confronting X is beyond me, but this is a video game, so don't question it. If you don't beat them or collect all of the parts, they'll succeed in rebuilding Zero, having to engage your old friend in a boss battle before the final boss, who, to no surprise, is Sigma again. Though I'll give the series credit here, as the end of the first game made it obvious Sigma wasn't dead yet, so it's not like it's pretending that he came back out of nowhere. If you do collect all the parts, Sigma will sick a fake Zero on you, but the real Zero will come in and one-shot him, saving you from an extra boss fight. Sigma himself isn't really anything special, though his virus form is really cool looking, and it's neat to see Capcom play with pseudo 3D on the SNES to create him. Baldi does let loose something interesting though, as somehow he's learned that Zero is fated to fight X, and more importantly was the last creation of a certain doctor, more or less setting up the fated conflict between the two Maverick Hunters that would finally climax years later in X5. Overall, X2 is a fine game. I did enjoy the increase in difficulty and the inclusion of the X-Hunters. It just feels a bit forgettable, as it didn't really change up much compared to the first game. This includes the designs of the Mavericks, all feeling just a little too boring compared to the original 8. Except for Blaze Stagg. Seriously, this guy is awesome. I also love that his flames go from red to blue halfway through his fight. The music feels pretty forgettable too, the only tracks of any real note in my opinion being Zero's theme when he shows up, and Bubble Crabs, which is so good they used it for Duff McWhalen's stage in X5. And yes, I call him Duff McWhalen, because I played X5 when it still had the Guns N' Roses references. The names felt way cooler and creative than their generic insert element, insert animal names. This feeling of being forgettable unfortunately applies to the next game, X3. X3 takes place an undetermined amount of time after X2. The opening crawl reveals that the Maverick threat has been neutralized once and for all, thanks to the efforts of the Reploid scientist, Dr. Doppler. The good doctor founded a new utopia for Reploids known as Doppler Town. Well shit, that's great. Guess we're fighting a whole new type of enemy in this game, right?
Right? Wrong!
Of course not. What are you, crazy? As it turns out, the good doctor has gone mad with power, declaring war on humanity and mobilizing his forces known as the Doppler Army. So you know, just going Maverick. Again. Once again, it's up to X to save the day, along with his newly revived buddy, Zero. Now right off the bat during the intro stage, X3 does do something new compared to the first two games. You can now play as Zero. Sort of. During the tutorial section, X will storm the Mechanaloid facility and get ambushed by Maverick Hunter turned traitor, Mac.
Mac.
What, you don't remember Mac? He was essential in helping us stop Sigma. Here he is, helping us in the final fights against him. I can't believe he would betray us like this. Must be jealous that Zero is back in our life. Anywho, after getting captured, it's up to Zero to go and save X. Zero has more health, does more damage, and if you hold his charge shot, will fire out a sword beam, which is pretty powerful, if a bit slow. But unfortunately, he has very limited use. You can only use him once per stage, you can't use him in boss fights, and if you die while playing as him, you lose him for the entire game. He also can't pick up health upgrades, armor parts, or use ride armor. So Zero is less of a playable character here, and more of an oh shit option if a stage is overwhelming you as X. After one-shotting Mac, control returns to X, and it's time for the usual go stop the 8 Mavericks deal. Though that's not all Dr. Doppler has up his sleeve, as he has 2 minions serving under him, known as Bit and Bite. They serve the same function as the X Hunters of randomly showing up in a stage to challenge X. Though you won't see them on the map, so it's pretty easy to get blindsided by them. But wait, there's more! A ghost from X's past has returned looking for revenge! Who could this mysterious person barely in shadow be? It's Vile. Vile's back. Somehow. Like Bit and Bite, he'll show up in random stages, but you have to find a hidden transporter in order to get to him, which annoyingly looks like a different colored Dr. Light capsule, so you might think you're getting an upgrade before getting transported to his area instead. Also, he's still an asshole, as Vile will first fight you in his ride armor before fighting you himself. And even after beating him, he'll set the location you're in to explode, giving you less than a minute to escape. Can't wait to put this piece of shit back in the ground again, and never see him ever again. Despite the potential that you may end up fighting Vile in either Bit or Bite before the boss of a stage, they're not that tough, as their attack patterns are much simpler and easier to react to compared to the X Hunters. Hell, the entire game feels like a step down in difficulty compared to the last one. Mavericks telegraph their attacks a lot better, with most attacks being easy to dodge. Not only that, but they don't soak up as much damage either, so you can reasonably take them down with charge shots and not feel like it takes forever. But even though they're easier to handle, I'll give these new Mavericks credit in that I like their designs better than the last 8. Neon Tiger, Tunnel Rhino, Blast Hornet, almost all of them are much cooler and come off a bit more intimidating than the Mavericks of the last game. Collectibles remain the same in this game, with 2 new additions. First are these giant platforms you'll occasionally run into while in a stage. You'll have to activate them in Blast Hornet's stage before you can use them, but they're for summoning new types of ride armor. They'll let you explore certain levels easier and reach secret areas that hold the other new collectible, the chip parts. The chip parts will enhance one of your armor parts even further, though the catch is you can't get all the upgrades. Unless of course if you skip the chip parts completely and find the hyper chip in Dr. Doppler's stage, which upgrades your armor to the gold armor. Honestly, I can see a lot of people getting the hyper chip completely by accident, if only because of how awkward unlocking ride armor is. Depending on the route you take to defeat the Mavericks, Blast Hornet might be the last Maverick you take out. So if you saw these big platforms, did nothing with them all game, you're really not incentivized to go back and try them out unless you're looking for heart tanks or sub-tanks. Like X2, there isn't really a lot of music I like here, the only real standouts being Zero's theme again. I swear this guy never misses with his various themes. Vile's theme. And Dr. Doppler's theme isn't too bad either. After taking out the Maverick bosses, Dr. Kane will analyze their memory chips, and reveal that Dr. Doppler has been studying Reploid models to develop a new body for someone. Come on, you already know who it is. Storm his base and kick the Doctor's ass to find out he was infected by the Maverick virus, and is being used by Sigma. Stomp Sigma's ass and he'll turn into his virus form in a ditch effort to infect and possess X. Depending on whether or not you lost Zero during a stage while playing, either he or Dr. Doppler will show up with the Maverick antivirus, using it to destroy Sigma. Once and for all, never to be seen, ever again. Like X2, I don't hate X3, and consider it fine. It just doesn't really stand out to me. I think a big reason for that is because I played X4 before both of these games. X4 was just this massive leap compared to the others, making Zero fully playable with his own bosses and story, animated cutscenes which added to the flair of the game, And yeah, I know, the Saturn version of X3 technically did it first, but I never played that version. It had voice acting.
What am I fighting for?
Admittedly not good voice acting, but it gave a voice to our characters. The graphics were a huge step up in quality. The Mavericks were way more memorable. Shout out to Magma Dragoon. And it had some of the best music of the series. And there was an actual story here that revealed Zero's backstory and gave him a tragic romance too. So honestly, if I had played these two when they first came out, or played as often as I've played X1 and X4, I think I'd see them in a much better light. They just feel like small improvements over the original. Adding some little things, but not doing enough to stand out. Fun and serviceable Mega Man X games, just nothing game-changing. And that's the video. Thanks for watching, guys. I had to take a few days off from Elden Ring in order to sit and focus on this video. And I gotta tell you, that was a lot harder than I thought. This game is just so damn good. Thankfully, I planned ahead for this exact thing to happen, and had my footage recorded ahead of time, so I only really needed to focus on my script and editing. Feels good to come back and play some games from the X series, especially ones that don't get a lot of love. Or at least not a lot of love from me. I'm on track to get my next video out on time, mostly because I kept the footage from last year just in case. I'm trying to be a little more looser with these videos in terms of my tone and how I speak. I feel my best videos are the ones where I just speak in my normal tone and joke around a bit while doing it. I think I come off as more genuine and honest in my opinions of games that way. But you guys let me know. Again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. What's your favorite X game? Do you find X2 and X3 as forgettable as I do? Or do I just have a really shit take? Leave a comment down below with your thoughts. And if you're new to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. I'm FuzzySlippers, and I'll see you later. Peace.